Welcome, everyone, to Wrestle Roasts. I'm your host, Robert Karplis, and I am joined, as always, in crystal clear HD audio by Scott Chaplin. Scott, how are you?
Oh, what's up, man? It's a leap day today.
We're
We rarely
recording
get
on
this
Leap
day.
Day.
Yeah,
This
I'm
is
I'm hyped on it.
this is huge. Leap Day, which, as you all know, is Suicide Prevention Day. So, guys, don't jump. Speaking of, Dan St. Germain is here. Dan, how are you?
Wait, it's Suicide Prevention Day on the
No, I
day.
just made it up. I'm like
That's
Leap Day.
hilarious. It only comes once every 4 years. So the other 3 years, those people are shit out of fucking luck.
They're
Um,
fucked.
I'm great, man. I just want to pop up right up front. I'm going to be at Dallas Comedy Club this Friday and Saturday at 7:30 and 9:30. So plenty of tickets still available on those late shows, folks. So come on down.
Yes, the late show totally different than the early show because by the late show Dan is sweating and tired and it's so much more fun. But we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. We got to talk Chamber, a little bit of Raw. Yes, we're actually going to talk a little bit of Raw since it's the most popular wrestling show on TV. We're also going to talk Dynamite, the least popular wrestling show on TV unless you're Meltzer. But we're opening with arguably the biggest story we may cover all year. All due respect to Vince McMahon stepping down, but there is no bigger story than the fact that some guy got Tony Khan tattooed on his body. Mike
It,
Lawrence sent this out to us.
it's in our Facebook group. So
It is
join our
on the
Facebook
Facebook
group.
group. It is genuinely haunting. Dan, what are your thoughts on this this situation?
As you know, I've had a huge ordeal with Facebook. I'm still not allowed to join the group. I'm still not I'm still not in control of my Facebook fan page. I
He's not
am
allowed 500 feet of a school. It's all
I'm still dealing with it. I man, I just need to know the story. I mean, what do you guys know about this? Because I don't know this. I don't know who got it. I don't know anything about this other than it. I mean, it looks like somebody lost a bet. And I mean, like, this is a bad picture of even Tony Khan, and most pictures of Tony Khan are bad, but this is a particularly bad shot of Tony.
so from what
Yeah,
I
this is, and
understand.
I'm not exaggerating.
Oh,
The first time I really learned how to draw faces by like an art teacher in high school, I drew something like this, and I thought, oh, I could do better in the future. But this is like a first try by someone who's capable. It's not at all a tattoo artist job.
so from what I understand, the guy is he's at dot Grix Grix. Um, this was a thing he had been hyping for a while that he was going to do. Uh,
And that's his calf, I'm guessing.
they don't show exactly where on his body it is. Thankfully, it looks like it's on his calf. Um, the intent for this
Yeah,
was
it's the
was
size
to
of both
garner attention.
wrists.
Yeah, this was the intent behind this. He was hyping for days that he's getting a Tony Khan tattoo. Um, I get trying to do
Were
something as
people
a
like
gag.
getting what were they like egging him on, or like how did
What I love so much about it is in the post he wrote my Booker of the Year,
Yes,
which when he planned on getting it, I'm sure he thought Booker of the Year. But then the results came out and he wasn't, so he had to put my Booker of the Year. Maybe he got so mad about the lists that he went out of his way to, tattoo it and say this is my Booker of the Year.
if you had to
Huh.
get a Booker of the Year, if you had to get a wrestling Booker tattooed on you, who would it be?
Booker T.
Well, I mean, that's actually the best answer, but an
Yes,
actual
sorry.
wrestling Booker. I think
Um,
I'd do Herb Abrams with like a bunch of hookers around him. I think that's the only answer actually, because that's like kind of fun. Like if you got Vince, you're a psychopath. If you got Cowboy Bill Watts, like
you're
it's just
racist
it's
or
just
Jim
an
Ross.
old yeah, it's just an old guy, like everyone who sees it is an old guy. If you got Hunter, I think it's just kind of corny.
If I got
Even
Heyman,
Cody's gonna
people.
get dusty.
The problem is if
Yeah.
I got Heyman, they think it's my dad. Like, because I look like something Paul would have created
You know,
biologically.
Dusty is kind of I guess Dusty. I mean, this is without a doubt the worst Booker I think you could have gotten
I think
tattooed.
Dusty runs the risk of looking like Slimer. They go, "Oh, you're a
Yes.
Ghostbuster fan?"
Oh man.
Drinking that hot tea, baby.
You've got, I
Uh,
mean, if you haven't seen this, if you guys if any dorks who are who are listening, if you haven't seen this tattoo, stop everything you're doing. Leave your family and check this tattoo out, because it is. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm right now as we talk. I'm gonna put this on our Wrestle Roasts Instagram page, which you should also join, guys.
So I think I'm looking at it right now because it's haunting. I don't know much about tattooing. I've never gotten a tattoo. I don't intend to. The detail work on his hair is really impressive. Like they worked hard to get every bizarre cowlick that Tony Khan has. His head is like turned askew, like he's looking like to the side, like in an early '90s sitcom, like opening like credits, like they play his name and he turns like and Tony. I
Guys,
wonder
by the
what
way, if you're listening and you have a wrestling tattoo, post it on the Facebook group because I'm interested. I never got a tattoo. I wanted one at a moment. I guess I'm glad I didn't. I wouldn't mind if I had them, but
you seem like
in
a guy
terms
who'd
of
have sleeves.
yeah,
Like you
yeah, just
have
like
sleeve tattoo personality.
yeah, I know. I know I have bad decision personality. No, but would you guys get a wrestling tattoo? I mean, is there like something that ever happened in wrestling that would make you go, yeah? Like if
Uh,
you also were a guy who had your other favorite things on your arms.
The
Like
only
I remember a CM Punk quote where he was like, "Oh, people make fun of me because he'll have like a random slice of pizza on his arm." CM Punk,
Yeah, and they're
and they
all
go,
stupid.
"Oh, what the fuck?
I mean,
You
we
like
love.
pizza so much you're gonna get it tatted on your arm?" And what he says is, "I feel bad for you that you don't love something enough to put on you. I love so many things." I mean, I don't think that hits right. This is like Pepsi is still a
No, I think
corporation, right? You're still like a walking
I have
advertisement.
heard that. I've heard that argument that like no somebody with no tattoos, it's like so you can't stand behind anything. But
Sure, I've heard that.
the
Yeah.
I've heard that argument. I have thought about getting my wife's name and like our dog's paw prints on me.
On
But
your neck?
on my face actually. But I think that yeah, I think that you run the risk when you have a wrestling tattoo is like whoever you get or whatever event you get, what gimmick you get, you're running the risk of like, you know, 6 months of horrifying story coming out about it.
Yeah.
And then, like you run the risk of having a future episode of Dark Side on your body. So I think I mean, unless if you're like I guess if you're like in a gang or you're a killer and you have like Benoit's face, that's kind of like, you're like, oh yeah, don't fuck with me. Like I got this murderer on me. But
Even
other than
even that,
that,
no, because I think if you kill a kid, you no longer get that cool murder street cred. Like
I
all
guess
the
you're right.
serial killers that like have killed adults, they get documentaries and Peacock stuff, and people are like, "Hey, there's something interesting about that," or they get like women that send marriage proposals to them. I think when you
This
cross
is
that line,
terrible. I just pictured Benoit not killing himself and being in jail and getting two-tier tattoos, which I know that's terrible, but damn.
would they be the
Yeah,
same size?
if Cape Fear couldn't cut a promo.
Oh no.
Then he'd
I
be on
forgot he
Dynamite.
couldn't cut a promo.
Like he had such a terrifying look. We forget that he couldn't cut a promo because if you go back on his if you go back on his championship run, like all these Benoit apologists will be like, "Oh, they really cut the legs out from under him, and they took that title off right at SummerSlam. They should have given more time." Dude, I mean, like you cannot like some of those promos, especially like with his program with Kane, like it was the opposite of drawing money. Like the guy couldn't talk.
Well, he did the
or,
Principal Skinner line. He
or,
was like,
or,
"Prove me wrong," and I was like, "Well, no, you're done." Like
Yeah.
after that, there was no coming back from a promo for that, and it was unfortunate at the time, and now you're kind of like, all right, maybe we dodged a little bit of a bullet here.
oh,
Crazy.
definitely dodged a cannonball.
Yeah.
Well,
Very bizarre.
there
Like it's you just can't. I mean, Eddie, they did. Eddie, I thought they could have kept him going. They kind of should have had JBL maybe, but they wanted to put the title on Randy prematurely. They should have JBL take it off Benoit and do that storyline with that and give Eddie a longer run. But because Eddie had everything, Eddie could talk, Eddie could wrestle, he had the look. But yeah, I just don't understand why
Yeah, the
they
more time passes, I look at Eddie as like a top top 5 guy in my eyes, you know. Not
Yeah, I mean, he's
of
a
all.
total package guy at the very least.
Yeah, yeah. Him and
Yeah,
Angle, you know, I go whole package guys.
Yeah, I still don't understand why they took the title off him. That I mean, like, and they gave it to JBL, who was a great heel character, but man, that guy, at that point, his wrestling was so limited.
it's weird that they went with JBL, who coincidentally is Bruce Pritchard's close personal friend. It's also coincidental that when they put the title on JBL and gave him this run, Bruce was had a strong voice on creative. Totally unrelated, guys. There is there is just no smoke and mirrors here. But hey,
But
uh,
Bruce was close with Eddie too,
Bruce
so
was close with Eddie, but with JBL, you had a chance to make a major heel. So
I
they
guess.
needed somebody that they could heat up on because SmackDown at that time it was rough because it was the post Heyman where he was promoting a lot of guys who could wrestle but didn't have a lot of like character personality, and JBL has a lot of character personality, mainly guy who should have been canceled. But
Do you remember they had all those fucking JBL Big Show matches, which were
yes,
just death?
well, Big Show was a baby. You can't make Big Show a baby face. He's
No,
11
because
feet
guys
tall.
wrestle, dude. I mean, like it's like just two lumps of shit trying to push each other around.
Well, it's almost as if JBL's politics aligned with Kevin Dunn's, and there was always an incentive to keep those guys around. But that's not the era we live in, guys. The era right now is logical booking and storytelling, which, based on a very small subset of people, they thought Elimination Chamber was boring because the people that should have won. The storylines you needed to tell were told. Sorry that
I'm interested by this because I didn't like Elimination
you're
Chamber.
the, by the way, you're the, of all the folks I've talked to, you're the only person whose opinion I respect who has said that they did not like Elimination Chamber. So I'm
It's not because of
fascinated.
it's not because of the booking. Like I thought of the right people won. I just thought the wrestling was bad. And I thought that there was like too many commercials. And it's like, and I just the chamber matches themselves are so clumsy but we'll get through it match by match.
Yeah.
But you can't say like that was a good show.
Maybe I had more fun watching it because I was up at 5 watching the show live. So there was something kind of novel about you're starting your day, you're watching wrestling, you're having breakfast, drinking coffee. It was I enjoyed that aspect of it. I liked the way that the stadium looked generally. I know there were some gaps in seating that people were saying, like, well, why'd they do that? Well, because they used those giant pillars to set up the chamber. They didn't want to block a bunch of people's seats. Um, the presentation looked cool. The commercial stuff, I know we touched on this on the Patreon. If you haven't listened to the Patreon, go back and listen to that. But the Australian Tourism Board was who helped fund this show. And as part of that deal, you have to promote Perth a couple times. So you get those commercials 3 or 4 times throughout the show. Because it's on Peacock and there's multiple tiers, you have to have commercial breaks in the show, or else you're going to have commercial breaks in the middle of matches. And then people are going to be bitching and complaining about that. So if you watched it live, it's a very long show. If you didn't watch it live, you could fast forward. And if you watched it the way Scott watched it, you probably got viruses on your computer.
No, I actually watched it on Peacock. And I woke up, I saw the main event. But I understand what you're talking about, Robert. And this is a New Japan situation you find yourself in. You wake up early in the morning. It feels like no one else in the world is up besides you and these people somewhere else, and they're wide awake, just like you're wide awake. And it's like newsworthy and noteworthy. And it's like, is anyone else even experiencing this along with me? And it's fun for those reasons. I didn't think it delivered the matches in terms of like a New Japan show. I think it's something that a long time ago. Is this true? Now, I have a question about wrestling. Remember, they would like flub results. They would go like, "Oh, so and so fought in Puerto Rico and he won this," and it turns out like they never even went. They would
Sure.
just like kind of fill in some
I
blanks.
mean, that's the Intercontinental title.
Sure, right? That's the Intercontinental. This is what that felt like, where it's like, yes, all the results are exactly what they needed to be. I needed the result. I even needed an image of the result. I didn't need to see any of this though, and none of it needed to really happen. I thought Logan Paul was awesome. what was like my star of the
so
show.
He was the
we'll
star.
get to so the first there's only 4 matches on here. Won't take that long. First match was Becky Lynch, Raquel Rodriguez, Liv Morgan, Tiffany Stratton, Naomi, and Bianca Belair. My takeaways, I like that Becky started the chamber to feel like she was earning winning this. It wasn't like it was, handed to her. I thought they made Tiffany Stratton look like a major star in this match. She had a couple of big spots, including off the cage.
He
For
was the
someone,
most over person in the
I
match.
was gonna say, for someone who just started like 2 weeks ago, she seems super over. They gave Naomi a couple of big moments. It's tough because it's five baby faces and Tiffany, so they are a little handcuffed in terms of what they can do, and you needed a way to beat Bianca without outright beating her. But I don't know. I enjoyed the match overall. Raquel Rodriguez is a void of charisma. Like I don't really need to see her or her back ever again.
Well, she had some sort of her autoimmune disease, I guess, was activated
Oh
before the match.
shit.
So like she was like breaking out, I guess, in like hives or rashes or so. She had a whole post about it where she was like, but that no, I mean, like, to your point, like, I don't get it. Like, even when that's not happening, she's still doing like, first I thought it was just Vince that was kind of fucking with her because she did that thing that Vince does with women. Wait, that sounds terrible, but well, not that thing, but
The non-NDA thing.
she does the thing where she just comes out smiling the whole
Yeah.
time, which is like a Vince directive. And it just makes you look so phony. It's like Bob Backlund or something. Before Bob Backlund was the crazy character in '94. Yeah, so I just don't, and I think too, it's like she's not as physically, and by no means she's not by no means out of shape, but she's not as physically jacked as she was her last run. So when she does the back thing, it doesn't look as cool. And
Save that for Brock's daughter.
yeah, and she's green, man. So it's like all the, I mean, she looks more, don't get me wrong, she looks more like, I think she looks more attractive. Like, but as far as like that whole like wrestling carny, you kind of want somebody to look like, like almost like an oddity. She doesn't have that as much anymore. She just kind of looks like a pretty girl who's bigger, like um so yeah, I don't know. I don't see it yet. Also, she was wearing like this kind of like these, as the fashionista of Wrestle Rose, she was wearing this really forgettable set of gear that was just kind of like black, and it just kind of looked like she was going out, for the night or something. Like it didn't really look like anything.
I would have enjoyed this more if instead of her, it was Chelsea Green. I think having another heel in
She's
there, someone
she's
who
fun,
works
man. She was fun
she
on
works
Raw.
the crowd. She's a
Yeah.
blast. Scott, what
Yeah.
did you think of this match?
Oh, well, I love Chelsea Green, and I thought Becky Lynch should have won this. I saw a lot of like Becky is over pushed. I guess I feel that in this way. It's like even if we don't pay attention to the women's division, it feels like you should book Becky, right?
Yeah.
And maybe she isn't the best thing going on right now, but she's Becky goddamn Lynch, and that matters. So it's obviously the main event. And so I don't see really the issue because it's like, okay, who would you put in her situation? Like,
Yeah, I don't want
who
to hear
else
that.
besides Becky? And then you have a dud of a match. It has to be Becky.
I don't. Yeah, I don't want to hear that because how many times has Charlotte been pushed that we're like, oh,
That's what I'm saying.
Charlotte.
And again, it's like pick one other person in this match to be in that main event in WrestleMania or middle of the show WrestleMania, whenever they decide to do it. It's Becky.
Yeah.
And Bianca's
So
not
made
as
total
hot as
sense. And
she was.
Tiffany Stratton is a star.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
cool
think
to see.
I think Tiffany Stratton's going to get the rocket strapped to her. I think she's going to be the biggest beneficiary of Bailey beating Io. Like Tiffany's going to be, she could be the Orton. Like she could be the Bailey finally like wins the title as a babyface, and then come SummerSlam, Tiffany's the hot new thing and wins the SmackDown title.
But the wrestling was not good in this match, guys. I mean, like
It was bad.
I don't think it was that good. And I like Becky. I thought that like Naomi seemed a little bit, she seemed like a sidestep off. And I
I've
like
seen that
Naomi.
with her since she's been back. Naomi's been slightly off, but
Maybe that's just her adjusting to, the ring. You don't really know if the rings are different. And I think Becky gets slept on as far as like she's a really good in-ring wrestler, but I thought that she wasn't that great here. I don't know. I just didn't like, I think it, and I don't even know if it's their fault, man. I just think the Elimination Chamber is not a good, it's never a good match, you know? Like the only times it was like remotely compelling is like the first iterations of it because it did genuinely hurt everybody.
That's the thing.
But
It was fun because it hurt.
that's a bad reason, you know?
Yeah.
That's a bad reason. So
It's a cool set, but I also don't love having two chambers on a show. I get why you need it, but you then run into the repetition of spots. And then when this one, once I've seen one person jump off the cage, do I need to see 10 people jump off the cage? I don't know. Next up was the New Catch Republic against Judgment Day for the tag titles. I thought this was a really solid, fun match. I like Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne as a tag team. Their stuff with Finn looked really good. Priest looked fine out there. You got Dom getting some heel heat from the crowd to the point where they kept having to black out the screen, which was a nice touch. But damn, why did you hate this one too?
I didn't hate it.
Why did you hate this so much?
I like Tyler Bate. I like Pete Dunne. The problem is Damian Priest towers over them, and a lot of their combo moves rely on someone who's their size. So like it just kind of looks awkward. It looks like, it almost looks like a girl dating a shorter guy or something. Um, I just didn't, I thought this was probably the best in-ring match on the card. I mean, I know there were things about the men's chamber that I enjoyed, but yeah, I just, I don't know, man. I like Judgment Day. This was a fine match to have on the card. It did feel like the show needed one more match. I will say that. I don't like. I understand the Royal Rumble having 4 matches, but I feel like Chamber should have 5 matches.
It sucks that I guess Gunther, due to some like visa issues, wasn't able to fly out of the country, so that's why they couldn't do Gunther and Jey Uso. That would have been a fun addition to this because you won an Intercontinental title defense. But yeah, you could have probably added a fifth match. Instead, we got this Grayson Waller, Austin Theory, Cody, Seth.
Oh wait, Scott didn't get his opinion.
Oh, sorry, sorry, Scott.
Oh, my opinion on this match was I was very happy that the women's match went first, the chamber, and then this match went on, and I was like, oh, this whole order is fucked, and it's going to create a waste of time for us, and a bit of confusion. Like, I mean, when I woke up and it was the Rhea match, which I get it, she's from there, boo. When I woke up and that was the main event, I had a problem with that. So yeah, this should have went first, and we should have reorganized the whole show. But yeah, Grayson Waller effect. This was what, 22 minutes long?
It was like 49 and a half minutes long. The first thing is apparently, and this was the concern I had for All In London, but they were able to do it better than WWE did here, which was miking the crowd. The way that I guess because of the chamber and the configuration on a production end, the crowd was not mic'd as well as it should. So you had what sounded like these gaps of silence, and yet people in the stadium were screaming loudly and you can't hear anything. So it made this feel really clunky. Waller comes out to call out Cody and Seth. The gist of it is Seth saying he's going to be cleared in time for WrestleMania. He's going to be cleared sooner rather than later. And that Cody wants to face The Rock one-on-one before Mania. And then they beat up Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. Dan?
Couple problems with this. First off, I realize what it is about Seth that like rubs us on the podcast the wrong way. He's excellent in the ring. He's a great wrestler. Like if he was in New Japan or AEW, he would be in contention for Wrestler of the Year. I have no doubt about it. But his promos when he's serious are really good. But like when he's doing this character and he's wearing this goofy shit, it just feels disingenuous. Like I understand, like he thinks that like he needs to use sports entertainment-y, so he's got to wear like the 3 glasses and the fancy robes and stuff like that. But my favorite Seth was either like when he was like the corporate guy and he was a sniveling little shit, or when he's being like the workhorse, hey, I'm the backbone of this company, and he's cutting a very serious promo. When he's cutting these like silly promos, it just feels like a disconnect. It's like this isn't the guy. He's less flamboyant as a guy than Macho Man Randy Savage was, and that's the person that a lot of people compare him to. I thought that the Cody Rock, I mean, like, they have to make us want Seth and Cody against Rock and Roman, and not just Rock versus Cody. I don't know how they're gonna do that. Are they gonna have Cody get beat up a couple times and then he finally, he finally gets Seth to team with him. I'm not sure. And I think that they also ran into a problem because they're telling this Grayson Waller Austin Theory story of, I guess Austin's going to be the babyface. Austin's not over, man.
No.
And Grayson's a compelling heel, but the worst thing you can do with a new compelling heel is to pair him with a babyface that isn't over. So you're gonna like, instead of like having them as a tag for a while, which I thought they're going to do, they're already starting to tell the story of the breakup. And I think it's just going to kind of be like all things to nobody, when these two, are they going to have this at Mania, these two against each other? Are they going to save that for after and just put them in like a tag showcase sort of thing? I'm not totally sure, but I just don't think that, like, I think that I think they wanted Austin to be a babyface because they saw him, dressing down that reporter and sticking up for the business. But it's just, I mean, he's just not somebody people are excited about.
No, he's not a baby face in the same way Seth, when he's earnest, is not a baby face. I
Yeah.
think there is a disconnect because Seth he's kind of a dick. I don't know if you guys
He
saw.
can be a babyface when he's talking just like, hey, I'm the
Yeah.
workhorse, but like,
Well, when you're
when
dressed like
he's
Velveteen
playing the
Dream,
character, it's stupid.
doesn't work. Scott, what'd you think of this segment?
Well, I loved Seth's outfit, and I usually don't. And I
Of
liked
course
his
you
outfit
would.
on Monday too.
Oh, the
Yeah,
big the
something's
big
going on. I'm
pockets.
like very into it. He is
Turns
of the
out Scott's an
time.
asshole.
Yeah, I don't know why I look at it and I go, "Oh, this makes sense right now." Sometimes it looks silly. I thought his outfit in Perth looked good, and I thought his outfit on Raw looked good. Other than outfits, yeah, it did its job. I think you should have had some sort of Rock Roman
Yes.
something during this, just because you can. And again, I don't mean them showing up, but just the video, like we talked about Hollywood Rock, it makes total sense. Fine with this. I mean, do we get a match out of this, like between these two teams? No, right?
I mean,
I
maybe on a Raw or a SmackDown.
No, I don't
Yeah.
want. I don't want them to. I think you can do Cody Rock night one.
No, I'm talking to Austin Theory and
Oh,
Grayson versus Seth.
No,
And
we're doing the tag. We're definitely doing the tag night
I
one,
don't
and
know.
then
I don't know when I want to see the tag, but
I know, but
I
it
think
feels
that's
like
what they're
Seth is
doing,
going to
dude.
sacrifice himself for Cody, and then that's his storyline, which is like unfortunate, but it's the best storyline he can have right now, which is the guy that takes the bullet so Cody can win the title. I mean, he'll be over that way. Wrestling fans are smart, so
they are. If you're going to use Theory and Waller at Mania, and I was talking about this with somebody else, another writer, where we were trying to hypothesize how to use guys. I could see those guys in a tag against Cena and someone else for like the WrestleMania 40. We want to bring people back. Um,
I don't know. Cena versus Theory was so
that's
bad.
why you do it as a tag. I think if you have Cena
But
come
you have
back
two green guys against a rusty Cena.
they're not green, and it's fine if you
Grayson's
keep.
green.
Grayson looked fine on Raw against Cody.
It was
yeah,
a fucking
he'll
4-minute match.
That's all. That's all you need this to be. You just need if you put Cena with. I'm not saying Austin, but like somebody else. I thought they were going to do Cena and Orton against Waller in theory until we saw what happened in the main event here. But I think those guys in a tag situation with as a chance to spotlight Cena and somebody else because they want to make WrestleMania 40 feel like this legendary, like everybody's back. Don't use Hogan. Please don't use Hogan. But there's
See, I would
maybe
watch that like as a dog walking on its hind legs sort of thing.
Yeah, I think Hogan should have one more match. I think it should be a mess, but we deserve it.
Did
It-
you see Flair throw punches on Dynamite, Scott? I don't want to see Hogan have a match.
I saw
think
Flair's last match, and I thought it shouldn't have happened. But I think all these guys, well, not all of them, but guys like Ric Flair and Hogan, these guys who it became very clear to us they love their family. Sorry, opposite. They love money more than family.
Thank you.
Like, let them die with us throwing dollars at them. At this point.
I love that.
They've made their decision. They've made their decision.
I agree. The only thing is that the one move that Hogan needs to do is the leg drop, and he can't do it now. Like he'll like literally he'll break in half if he does a leg drop.
So
I don't
hold
know
on.
how
So
to do it.
let me just because just kidding. With all due respect to Hogan dying in the ring, which would be better for Saudi. I think the Saudi government would pay for the death of Hulk Hogan. If you have a Waller in theory thing where they announce that the Hall of Famer this year is going to be Batista, and then you set up Batista and Cena versus Theory and Waller as a spotlight attraction, small like 3-minute match. I think that accomplishes what they want for star power for Mania.
I think you could do Hogan on the Waller effect and then maybe have him do a big boot. I think that's the most we could get out of this.
Could he lift his leg up?
Kenny, I don't know.
You need to have Brutus like helping hold the leg up for him. Like put him in like all green, CGI him out.
Yeah, maybe you should do a green screen match.
They've done those. I mean, Hogan would be perfect for one of those. That Bray Wyatt John Cena thing. You could do Hogan through the years.
You could do a taped match where you have like him do the leg drop on, like when Kenny does the one winged angel on like from like the top of the stadium, and it's clearly it's on a crash pad.
Yeah.
If you just do like Hogan doing the leg drop on a crash pad, I think you could get away with that.
Didn't AEW do that thing with like Sting where they fought in a warehouse?
Yeah.
You could do something like that with Hogan. Yeah.
Hogan's Beach Shop, that would be amazing.
Nick Hogan makes a run in.
He just drives through the wall. Where am I?
Where we are is the men's elimination chamber match. Randy Orton, Drew McIntyre, Kevin Owens, Logan Paul, LA Knight, and Lashley. The big takeaways from this: Logan Paul is a man who understands how sports entertainment works, bringing a Sharpie into the chamber and drawing fat Kevin Owens, and then, animating it, and then Owens trying to attack him in the cage before he even got in there. The finish saw Drew McIntyre win because Logan Paul knocked out Randy Orton, which is going to set up their match for Mania. AJ Styles flew 75 hours to Australia to hit LA Knight with a chair. I thought this match worked really well. I thought it was slow in some spots, but it definitely picked up. It was very physical. It was really entertaining. Dan, why'd you hate this match?
I didn't hate this match. This match I thought was fine. Okay, compared to the other 3 matches, I thought it was.
Why did
fine.
you text and say these guys should be fired? Tell us why they should all be
gone.
Dan.
Come on. I was talking about you.
That's fair.
I
trying to Hausman me.
I thought this match was good. I was impressed by the fact of when I saw Logan and Randy have their thing, I was like, oh, that's a better booking than everyone was booking. Like Orton versus Logan Paul makes the most sense. And it did make me be like, oh, they really know what they're doing. Because I don't think anyone fantasy booked that. And as soon as it happened, everyone was like, oh yeah, that's way better than Logan Paul, LA Knight, or Randy Orton, AJ again. It's one of the biggest matches you can put on the card. And I was kind of nervous that they were gonna, because sometimes they like, as much as they protect Randy, like Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, well, not as much Randy, more Kevin Owens, but they can find themselves without something to do on the WrestleMania card. It sucks because it's like you watch this and you're like, what the fuck is Owens gonna do?
I don't know if Owens is 100%. That's kind of one of the things that I had heard, that he might not be 100%, and maybe that's why they're
him and Gunther, but I don't know. I mean, I thought that the Logan Paul stuff was great. I thought the the brass knuck spot was great. I think the right guy won. They made Lashley look like a monster, even though he was eliminated first. I mean, look, this was as good of elimination chamber match as you're gonna get, but it's still an elimination chamber match. I mean, it was better than the one where Brock like threw Austin Theory, but it wasn't as good. I think the best chamber match we've seen was probably besides the first one that Michaels won. It was probably last year, right, where Logan Paul fucked over Seth, and they've had it for the United States Championship. But
that was a good one. The tag one that had New Day in it was really fun.
Yeah, that was good. Oh, and the women's tag was all right. So, but the one where they gave all the finishers to Cena was kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's and they were like all shocked that Cena got eliminated first. That was a cool moment. But a lot of these matches are ass, man. To borrow Scott's phrase, and it's one of the worst. It's such a cool idea for a gimmick. What did they call it in Germany again? That cracked me up because they can't
No Escape or something. I think
the No Escape match, which like also sounds like that's also could have described the
that
Jews
also,
fight World War II. You know,
to be fair, almost every like WWE pay-per-view sounds like something from the Holocaust.
yeah,
Judgment Day, Armageddon, Survivor Series.
yeah.
Um,
Maybe not Survivor Series.
Royale.
well, no, there was a couple.
There's a couple. Royal
Yes,
Rumble.
they had a couple of cool. They
Royal
had a,
Rumble
yeah.
doesn't sound like it. Yeah, so I don't know. I think that the booking was rather good. Even though we've seen Seth through a bunch of times, I'm excited to see it again. And I thought they had a really compelling segment on Raw, which we'll get to. But Scott, what did you think of this match, buddy?
No, I thought it was a fun match. I my favorite part of the Rumble is, oh, what singles matches other than the world title are you going to let me know
Yeah.
about that are going to happen for Mania? And the Rumble didn't do this year, and this match did. Logan Randy, you're right. I didn't think about it, and it's better than everything I thought about. The fact that, I mean, obviously AJ flew to Australia to interfere. I guess we're getting AJ versus LA Knight, unless there's.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, that seems like the match, right?
that's the match.
These are good matches, man. I mean, LA Knight versus Logan, you run a risk, and I think that's what we thought was going to happen. But Logan Randy, boom, you got a vet in the ring who's going to make sure everything goes right, and Logan is fantastic. And AJ LA, you have AJ in the ring, so it's going to be good.
Well,
Yeah,
I think
And
we
you
thought
have
LA
Logan
Knight.
Randy, Logan's getting to the point where people are going to start to cheer him because everything he's doing is working. But no
actually
one's
good, yeah.
Yeah, no one's gonna cheer. No one's gonna cheer Logan over Randy. Everyone is gonna want Randy to beat Logan's ass, and it doesn't matter who win. And this is how I know it's a great match: is it doesn't matter who wins. Like I can make arguments for Randy winning. I can make arguments for Logan winning. Either one, I think, would make sense.
Yeah, he's going to do the buckshot and get an RKO. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I think the whole reason we kept thinking LA Knight was because as much as we all love LA Knight, as much as like we love LA Knight the way Dan loved this pay-per-view. We
Everyone
were
else
like,
loves him, but everyone on this podcast.
everyone else loves him. So you're like, you have to do something major with him. Him and Logan Paul would get him the publicity that they want. But I think even they're realizing the bloom is off the rose for LA Knight, even the way he's been booked since Rumble. He's very much an afterthought.
He's
So
not
him and AJ,
evolving at all. Like even his
no,
promos, it's
because he
just the same
stinks.
shit.
Because he's
Wait,
not
do you think that's
good.
them though? Do you think that's them? I mean, they're
No,
obviously going towards Mania, and they can't have him close out these shows. But
dude, look
he
at
is on
Drew.
fire
Look
right
at
now.
the evolution of Drew the past couple months.
Sure.
Drew's like the hottest wrestler they have now, and like he was boring as fuck like a year ago.
Because they're letting
Yeah.
guys do what they do to get over. It's why our truth is as entertaining as he is right now. It's why the Alpha Academy stuff has been more entertaining than it probably
But
should
Chad
be.
Chad Gable's been more entertaining. Maxine Dupree is getting booed off a house
Well,
show.
Maxine Dupree getting booed is just she's trying. Like I get it, but Gable is super entertaining. Drew obviously showing what they can do. LA Knight was a one trick pony. It was a guy people like saying his catchphrase. They like saying his name. And then when he wrestles, he's just a guy.
He's not good in the ring.
No.
He's not
And
good.
AJ can get a better match out of him than Logan Paul would. But I think to your point, Dan, they have to be thinking like the Philadelphia crowd, they're like sociopaths there. They're gonna want to cheer the heels. They're not gonna boo Orton. Everybody loves Randy Orton.
Was AJ wasn't on the last Mania, I don't think. But the Mania before that, it was that Edge match, which wasn't very good. I don't know if you
No.
remember that. The year before that, they had New Day versus Omos and Edge, and that was really fun because we saw Omos for the first time and people were like cheering him. But
Yeah.
AJ had that great Boneyard match. He had the great Shane match, but I think that they have slotted him in like the Shawn Michaels spot for Mania. And he had a good Randy Orton match. He has had good matches, but he's still not Shawn Michaels. So I just don't know how much. I think this match is just going to kind of be like, it's going to be like I think it's going to be kind of I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think this is going to be a piss break match, and AJ Styles match is going to be a piss break match, which is insane.
Yeah. The problem is who wins. It's like, okay, LA Knight wins, and then what? We don't care. So that's totally a piss break, yeah.
Uh, Main event of this show: Rhea Ripley against Nia Jax. the hometown story or the home country story for Rhea Ripley was why they wanted to put this on last. Uh, she deserves the opportunity to get to main event a show. The problem is this was the best Nia Jax match, which is the meanest thing I can probably say about this. Like Nia Jax is not very good. She tried here, but this felt like Hogan Andre WrestleMania 3 without the magnitude. Like it
Oh,
was just
I mean, like that match was so much better than this, just because of
I just
obvious.
mean in terms of like she's doing the best she can, but it's not going to be great. And you're trying to tell a big person, little person story. It was fine. I'm glad Nia didn't injure Rhea Ripley, and that's probably the nicest thing I can say about it. Dan,
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I thought Rhea came off like a star. I thought that, she, like it made sense of her being in the main event, but they just should have had another wrestler, man. I mean, Nia's just she's very limited in what she could do. I don't know who they have her wrestle, but like
I don't disagree with Nia just because you don't want Nia Jax challenging for the title at WrestleMania. You've been building her up because
what are
you
they
had.
gonna do? Nia Jackson Jade?
Oh God, I hope
I think they're gonna do that because they kind of hinted at that at the Rumble.
Why
they
not do like a quick early squash match in the beginning of the card or something?
If you have Nia lose in 30 seconds, I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
possible,
Yeah, this
but
match to me felt like a Triple H main event, and I'm not knocking Triple H as a wrestler. I think he's great. But when Triple H used to main event a lot of pay-per-views, you didn't the pay-per-view didn't end going, holy shit, what an amazing match. It was just like typical. There was a main event feel to it. There's like a story and we're following it, but we're not fully invested. And that's what this felt like. There was an announce table spot, like all those typical, oh my God, this is important. They're going out of the ring. This really means something to them. But was it effective? No, not really. I mean, I guess I'm happy for Nia. This was her best match, and she got a main event, right?
she did. Couple takeaways from the Raw.
Easily her best match. And again, like I was fine with it. It just like nothing happened though. It was just more so like narrators pushing a story and then a few moments.
You needed Rhea to be able to be a baby face for one match and then switch her back to being the kind of heel that she is. You needed someone that no one was going to cheer and who could be physically imposing against Rhea. That's Nia. Like she fit that bill for this. I don't think the crowd minded because they just wanted to cheer Rhea beating somebody. But yeah, this felt like Hogan era, build up a monster, let him squash him, let's move on. Um, we'll do flaming bowling pins on this, then briefly touch on Raw. Dan,
My God, flaming bowling pins! I forgot.
Scotty Meltzer, flaming bowling pins in honor of
Yeah,
the
Nia.
true
Or
Meltzer brother.
or the whole show.
The show.
I would say 2.5.
Scott,
Yeah, I'd say 2.5.
I'm gonna go three and
It
a
did its
quarter.
job, but come on.
I enjoyed the chamber matches. I enjoyed all the matches except for probably the main event. So I'd say three and a quarter, but nobody got hurt. It's the big takeaway. On Raw,
There was a rumor that Randy did, but I guess that was all bullshit.
I guess that was both. He was just selling the back really, really well. Um, yeah, a couple Raw takeaways. Sami Zayn beat Shinsuke
Dude,
Nakamura.
Raw is the show to watch right now.
Raw's fantastic.
Raw's the show to watch, dude. I mean, I know we covered Dynamite, but I've been advocating us talking about Raw just because twice the people watch it and it matters.
And that's why they should subscribe to something to sports entertainment with in the $10 tier on the Patreon to hear my thoughts on Raw. You can't have it both ways, Dan. You can't take Raw back when it's actually watchable. When I've been slogging through this thing for years on the Patreon, making sense of it. But yeah, the big takeaways. They're setting up a Becky Lynch Nia Jax match next week on Raw.
Is it next week already?
For next week, since Nia's mad that she lost. Sami Zayn beat Shinsuke Nakamura in a solid
Very fine
match.
It made you miss their NXT match, but Shinsuke is not going to work the way he used to work. And they're trying to get Sammy over again as this underdog babyface, but it feels kind of like a retread of last year's story. And the whole thing that I love about Sammy is that like he does a different thing every year. You know, he went from the conspiracy theorist thing to then like the Johnny Knoxville thing to then the Bloodline storyline. I want to see like I want to see a different shade of Sammy and not just like Sammy doesn't need like that's the thing. It's the Intercontinental title, like the story of like Sammy getting the Intercontinental title. We've seen him win the Intercontinental title before. Do something different. I don't know what that is, but I'm sure that guy has fucking ideas. He's one of the
I
smartest
like
guys.
that. So there's a weird desperation in what the story Sammy's telling right now, and I'm curious where that's going to pay off because even the way he's been talking since then, there's a weird tone to what it is. I also like that there's a number of people where their story is, how do I get on Mania? And they see Gunther as an opportunity for it. So you've got Sammy trying to go after it. Miz and Truth have been mentioned for it. Chad Gable making an emotional appeal for it. Dominic Mysterio trying to go after Gunther. So the intrigue going into Mania is who's going to face Gunther. So it makes the title at least feel somewhat more important than it has before. I like that aspect of it without needing a ranking system. Sorry, Scott. Oh, and also the Andrade wants a shot at the title too. So you got him floating around. There was an Imperium New Day street fight. Either of you guys catch that?
At the end of it.
Oh, I did. Yeah. It was cool.
I thought it was a really fun
I
match.
just don't. I
Good
think you
table
gotta
spots
turn
and shit. Yeah.
I think you got to turn New Day heel or something, right? I mean, they just don't do anything anymore.
Yeah, I feel like this was the catalyst for they're going to have to do something else. Um,
Or
I mean, you think Big E shows up, or you think?
I don't know, or they go to fucking AEW. It just feels like, you know, it kind of feels like they've done everything they can like in that company. They've all had their single runs. They've all, you know, I can't imagine they're selling the merch that they used to sell 2 years ago. So either turn them heel or, you know, move to another territory, guys.
They just feel like ambassadors, you know. There's like
Yeah,
a few names that you go, oh, they haven't even been using them as wrestlers for like 7 years. They've been using them as, you know, people to shake hands with people, and I get that too. I think New Day. I mean, is Titus still there?
he's still
Titus
there.
is still there.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a great Drew promo. He comes out. He does the CM Punk crisscross applesauce. I've been told that's how you have to say it. He sits crisscross applesauce. He talks about how he busted his eardrum at Chamber, but he's still going to wrestle. He calls out Seth, and the gist of the promo was Drew McIntyre's character now is only guy who watches WWE programming and tries to make sense of it.
It's the
So
opposite of Vince's gimmick.
exactly. I love it. He's like, hey, fucker,
Mhm.
stop messing with the bloodline. Focus on our match because if you keep screwing with the bloodline, they're going to interfere in our match at Mania. I'm going to win, and it's going to be a tainted win. Just leave all that shit alone and focus on me, and let's make money on our storyline. I kind of like that.
Yeah, I love it. Drew's been on fire for months now.
Yeah, I loved it. I mean, you know, not to get into it because you know, like high spot, low spots coming up, but I just think you know, you know what he's acting like? He's acting like a really good and smart comic talking about the scene where he's like, this is what should be happening. And for some reason it fucking works. Like he's like it's the first like smartest guy in the room gimmick that kind of works for me. And yeah, I love everything about this dude. And there's so many fun stories you could tell at Mania. You know, I still think the most fun you could tell is him beating Seth and then immediately losing to Damian because that would like further the Drew character so much. But I don't know what they're gonna do, so I'm excited.
I like that more than there was a segment with Imperium and Judgment Day where they faced off and they're trying to tease Priest and Gunther. And whenever you go heel like that, crowd just
I
goes
kind of like
dead.
this. I know, but I kind of like this.
It's like when the Dungeon of Doom feuded with the Horsemen. Like the crowd doesn't really know what to do. They don't want to cheer Priest yet. They're not going to cheer Gunther. They're not excited about that match. And I think they're excited to see Gunther Sammy because there was a pretty big pop when they teased that.
It wasn't that big.
It was decently big, Dan.
It wasn't as big
You've got
as
unreasonable
No,
standards.
Gunther Sammy is the move. Gunther Sammy's the move. Yeah.
Yeah. Main event was Cody
Well,
beating.
doesn't everyone want to see Awesome Truth versus Finn and Damien?
Yeah, that's the other thing. They want to see Awesome Truth versus Finn and Priest.
Yeah.
So
Not me, but let it happen.
why do you hate R-Truth?
No, I like them, but this is not. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that the Awesome Truth was ever something that triggered a memory. Like, we're not doing that. We're not going back to 2012 and pretending they did a good job.
They
They did
didn't,
a
but you
bad
want an
job. It was all
emotional.
bad.
You want to tell
I
the
mean,
emotional
that Awesome
payoff.
Truth stuff was really bad. It's better now, like because the characters are
Yeah,
better.
because they're pretending it ever was good. But and our truth is good. I like our truth. I like these guys. They deserve their match. Our truth deserves a WrestleMania moment. Awesome Truth was never a thing, and like not once, never, not once.
It was. It wasn't. It was so. I mean, I think it was so forgettable that it took away from the first Cena Rock match, having
Yes,
that tag match against
I
them at
hated that
Survivor
tag match.
Beyond
Series.
forgettable. Yeah.
Oh,
Main event. So after Cody beats Grayson Waller, Paul Heyman comes out, and he basically the gist of his speech here
I
was,
guess chair shots to the header back,
yeah,
huh?
I was gonna say that. Yeah. So the gist of it was, hey, withdraw your challenge to The Rock. And then they send in what they claim are off-duty cops, which just look goofy and weird. And then Cody murders a dude with a chair.
I mean, I thought Heyman was good. Again, it's like Don Callis winning. You know, we talked about it on the Patreon.
I
Plug
don't want
for
to talk about it again. I lost my
non
fucking mind. That's my low
non
spot of the year.
non wrestling person of the year. Like what Paul Heyman did in this promo was still better than. And I thought Osprey was really good on Wednesday, but it's still he's still like even like because people were saying it was an off night for Paul on Monday. Even an off night for Paul is still pretty good. Like the image of him taking out the rock phone, it's so comical and cartoony, but it's such a great image, you know, and it furthers the storyline. And I thought I mean not Seth, I'm sorry. I thought Cody, man, Cody's just a great fucking white meat babyface. When you have a machine pushing Cody, and it's not Cody doing his own booking like it was in AEW, um, and you just make it a simple fucking good guy, he's great at it. The match itself was like whatever, but they had to get through it, I guess.
Match was
Yeah.
fine, but
Yeah.
it's yeah. It was just teasing. Hey, tune into SmackDown because you're going to get Rock and Roman to respond to this. So we'll get there. Speaking of trying to get through stuff to get to the next thing, we're going to talk Dynamite or Dud. The there's a new graphic we have up for this week's episode, and before it got posted, Scott was like, maybe I'm going to need to include Atlantis Jr. when he has a banger of a match. Great news, guys. We're not going to need to update the graphic.
It was fine. It was
No.
fine. It
Uh,
was
Dynamite Dynamite opens with Hangman Page, who comes out with a crutch, and he's given the serious hey, it looks like I'm not going to make the match. I'm hurt. I'm sorry, guys. Audience was buying it. Swerve comes out. There's a little bit of like, I tried to kill you. You tried to kill me. I cut a promo on your baby, but we got Destiny. Joe comes out. Swerve gets a good line on Joe about maybe you should be doing commentary in a poncho like at the old Mania. And then Hangman beats Swerve with a crutch. I loved this opening segment.
loved
Dan?
it. I thought it was great. I mean, you know, I love the fake retirement stuff. I love it when they did with Mark Henry. You know, I think that they're running into a problem though, where not a problem, but like Joe's a great champion. I mean,
Yeah.
Joe's a better. I mean, am I crazy to say Joe's a better champion than both MJF and Adam Hangman Page were? I mean, I think he could be. I think that he's the best champion they've
Yeah,
had.
no, you're probably right.
There's a steadiness and a credibility to Joe.
Yeah, he's the best champion they've had since Omega. So I just don't think you take the title off him yet. Like I really
We'll
don't.
get to Revolution like
But
predictions,
yeah,
but
I
yeah.
thought it was great. I mean, Joe is just he comes on, man, and he's just like Joe. He really is that Carmelo Hayes gimmick where he does not miss, dude. Every promo that guy has is fantastic, and apparently, from the people that I've talked to there, he's like an amazing guy to deal with backstage. Like he's kind of the guy you want riding the ship when you're kind of in a transitional stage with your company. So
Scott, what did you think of this promo?
Oh, I was crazy about it. I thought this whole feud has been great. And you're right. I mean, I guess the one hang up is there's that piece in our head that's like, oh, Swerve is about to be world champion, but Samoa Joe does deserve to be champion for longer. And I didn't know we would feel that way.
Yeah,
The
we need to do Osprey. I think Osprey's got to be the one to take it off him. You
Yeah.
know,
Off Joe.
Yeah.
You don't want Osprey versus Swerve?
No.
I want it, but I don't think you need it. I don't think you need it for the title, right?
Sure, that's true.
The
And you
Young
have
Bucks are
Joe could beat Wardlow. You know,
the Young Bucks arrive. They're still doing this EVP shtick. They want to give Sting an exit interview. They've got bats. They are the least imposing people in the history of professional wrestling. They
they look
look
like
like such
fucking Bugs
fucking
Bunny.
yes. They look like such clowns.
Yeah, man, it's not. I mean, like, look, I love a lot of Young Bucks matches, but it's just this is like them. It's just this whole fucking feud, dude. All you needed to do is tell the story of Sting's last match.
Yes.
That's all you needed to do. And if you and I like them beating up his sons. That's a great add-on. But all this like adding the EVP stuff, adding the Flair stuff, adding the weird fucking Darby Russo shit shoot about like, you know,
Cody.
Cody, like they put all this stuff that they don't fucking need, you know, like and it's just you know, like it sells themselves like you could just I mean the way easier storyline could have been for 2 months is just like Sting kind of like botching stuff in the ring and getting winded and being like, does the guy have it in him anymore? And then you have a match that over delivers expectations. But because, you know, Sting has given it all in every match, I'm not saying, you know, because we've already seen him like, you know, put fucking Powerhouse Hobbs through a table with a Scorpion Death Drop. We're just gonna see kind of like a Young Bucks match as the main event. I don't know, man. I just don't. I just think that this has been overbooked.
It sucks. What does not suck was the Blackpool Combat Club against FTR and Eddie Kingston in a six-man tag. I thought this was a great match. It ends with Danielson choking out Kingston. Scott, what'd you think of this?
No, I love this. And you know, I didn't necessarily want it. I'm still kind of old school in that, like, if there's a pay-per-view match, maybe don't have the guys touch each other before the pay-per-view, right?
Yeah.
But I realize that's inaccurate. And I realize even more than that, there's wrestlers who can do things like, okay, there's a tag match at the pay-per-view that we saw a week ago. We didn't even know we wanted that tag match a week ago. And when we saw it, it was amazing. And now we're getting it at the pay-per-view, and we know it's going to be even better than the match we saw. So things like that get me hyped. I'm impressed with guys like Danielson and Cesaro, and I mean really all of them, and the fact that they can have come Sunday their own matches that aren't like this, even though they faced each other on Wednesday. Usually people complain about things like that. When they're workers like this, I don't see the complaint. I just think it adds to the story.
Dan?
Yeah, I thought it was good. Scott, I'm kind of interested to hear your opinion on this whole Buck Sting Darby feud. I mean, maybe
Well, I'm
you
going
can
to
do.
save it for the main event because I think
Yeah,
there's a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
more to talk about
yeah,
there.
yeah. But
That's
I
why I've
thought,
moved on.
yeah, yeah. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I thought this was good. You know, I think Eddie's the most over babyface they have in that company. So you're gonna have him lose to Brian, I'm guessing. But then what do you do with Eddie? Do you have him feud with Joe? I mean, him and Joe on promos together would be awesome.
I did like the tease with Dax and Brian in the ring. That
Mhm.
was a nice little precursor of something we could get down the road. Jericho in the back cuts a promo about Atlantis Senior and why this is such an important match because he wrestled his dad in CMLL 85 years ago. Therefore, this match has significant drama and importance tonight. He's going to be wrestling as Lionheart. They're doing everything they can to make Jericho seem like the beloved babyface of like, hey, remember how much you liked Chris Jericho? We're going to give you like all of that. So I guess he's no longer feuding with the Don Callis family. He has nothing else going on. He's doing this shit. Um, we'll get to it. Osprey came out. This guy is a star. He has a command of the microphone. He has the right pacing. Talking about losing his bags with Delta. Talking about getting drunk with his wife. Like he's awesome. And then
The first time I've seen somebody, or I'm like, man, maybe this guy could turn the company around.
he could until they brought out Don, and I'm like, oh no, they're gonna keep saddling him with this shit.
He's a guy. I mean, we said it before. and I thought of his name before and I didn't say it, but it's like he still has a lot more time. But Eddie, Angle, Osprey, like these guys who they can go in the ring, but when they grab the mic, they don't look stupid either.
Yeah,
because there's a natural
charisma.
charisma. There's a cadence to the way he talks. It doesn't feel scripted. It just feels like he's got a command of the audience in a way that a lot of wrestlers don't. And it's going to be a lot of fun. Him and Takeshita, the whole it's Jordan and Pippen. It's a weird story.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
it's gonna be a great match. I liked the introduction enough. I thought he got a huge pop during the promo. I wish the pop was bigger during the entrance, but that promo he got like a big Osprey chant, which is important, I guess, moving forward.
It's weird how strong like Tony Schiavone put over how big a signing this is when we know Okada is going to be showing up probably in like what 2 weeks.
Sure, yeah. I wonder how you debut that guy, because you're right, because like you would have to treat it like it's the most important thing in the world.
I just don't
Yeah,
think. I think Osprey's music isn't great. They got to change the music a little
his
bit.
music does suck.
Oh, I
Um,
like it.
yeah, I don't
You
know.
would. But then again, I hated Swerve's music, and like Nana found a way to get that over.
Maybe you should have Nana come out and dance for Osprey too.
Man, if you think about it, like in the coming months, and I think Scott, you may have texted this or this exact thought, so maybe that's where this got planted in my brain. A healthy Swerve, Hangman, Joe, Osprey, Okada. That's a decent little.
Omega, MJF, Adam Cole,
Omega's a
Pac.
long way off. You're not getting MJF for a while. Pac,
Who
who knows
knows?
where Pac is? Like he vanishes for 6 months at a time.
He might
Um,
have stepped into a time
Yeah, is
machine.
Miro
He might
still
be
with the
wrestling in
company?
NXT.
Miro's still there.
Now the Miro thing, I mean, I guess we'll get to it, but I think CJ is like hurt again. Remember, she cut her finger and it was really bad.
Yeah.
She
Mhm.
went back in the hospital, so
Oh,
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know. Orange Cassidy took on Nick Wayne, which felt super random. We
I'll say
got
this about that: like, there's matches that deserve these guys on your television this week. Orange Cassidy is pushed out constantly though, and like we've had this Roderick Strong match planned. It's probably the first booked match of this pay per view. It was booked a fucking month ago, if not more. And Orange, you have to remember about these matches, and I think this is why there's such fails, in my opinion, and where I have to say it. These are for the title, all these matches.
yeah.
Yet we have a pay per view match advertised. It's just corny, bad booking, and I get it. Orange, I think, is a hit, but you ain't doing nothing with him.
People
Yeah, I
like
don't
him.
know why. I don't know, because he has look, he has surprisingly better. His whole gimmick is having surprisingly great matches when you think he's just going to phone it in. But now that's not his gimmick anymore. Now they're making him another workhorse, and it's like that's everybody in fucking AEW's gimmick. Everybody in AEW's gimmick is Seth Rollins' gimmick in WWE, where it's just like you're just not doing anything special with him. And I get it. You want to get Christian out there. You want to get, Nick Wayne is, and my opinion about Nick Wayne was like, I think he's a very good young wrestler, but I think it didn't help when everyone put him, kind of as the prodigy moniker, because he's not like like I think Mike Bailey was better when he started, right? Like there's a few guys who were, I mean, Kurt Angle was for sure better when he started. So there's been a few guys like Logan Paul is better than Nick Wayne. So like I think that kind of hurts him, but I still think he's got a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's his age. It's his age, and he's in AEW, where somehow he's 17 and taller than everybody.
Yeah.
The Bang Bang Scissor Gang are in the back teasing that they were going to potentially break up, but now they're all on the same page. Scott, are you still all in on this being a cool gimmick?
I don't. I mean, I'm not all in on it. I wish it
Are you
was a
getting it
little more
tattooed on your body?
exciting. I feel like they're already teasing. Like you said, like they're doing this "we don't get along" thing, where it's like you got to get along before you don't get along, or why would we care that you're not getting along?
Yeah.
So little things like that. But I mean, I love all these guys in the program. I hope Juice shows up and goes, no, 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 we're not a part of the Acclaimed, and Juice is the catalyst. Because let's be honest, Juice is the closest thing we have to Brian Pillman Sr.
No, Pillman Sr. didn't hate Jews. Chris Statlander took on Sky Blue. Stokely Hathaway was out there. Chris Statlander has pyro now, which was surprising. Julia Hart hit her with a belt after what took about 11 minutes for Chris to turn around and realize it. Yeah, I thought the match was fine. I think Sky Blue has gotten better, but it's just kind of tough to care about. Dan?
Yeah, I mean, I thought this match was, like Sky Blue has gotten better. I just think that they need to be just a little bit more coyer with the story they're telling with Stokely, because I think you do have a really good guy in the mic. I think Stokely's better than, not just because I'm friends with him. I think he's better than Don on the mic.
100% better
Sure.
than Don.
So it's like I don't know. Sometimes I just kind of feel like you're not, you're kind of wasting him in this division, but it was fine. It was good. I mean, it just feels like, I mean, it's just thank God for the TBS title, right? Because if not, Tony wouldn't do anything with these women. It would just all be the world title. And at least with the TBS title, he's like forced to, remember he has those people on his roster. I don't know.
Which it's weird. They did nothing for the Tony Storm match, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
No tease for that whatsoever.
Well, they're doing that on Collision, I guess. They're having a stare down or something.
Oh, well, that'll sell some tickets. There was Chris Jericho versus Atlantis Jr. This felt really
man.
What?
He comes out to not his music,
Yeah,
but he gets his pyro. That bothered me. Another thing that bothers me is, there is this sort of like, I'm in a costume as Lionheart, so cheer me because I'm not current Chris Jericho. I'm Chris Jericho from 1992 before he made any mistakes.
yes.
There was, I have a Lionheart Chris Jericho action figure. I understand the I guess appeal of Lionheart, or I did at one time. I don't think it exists in 2024. And I thought this match was like, dude, it was like they were both kind of confused about what they were gonna do. And I was fine with moments. I liked it, but I was sitting there kind of giggling to myself, like, what the fuck is this dude doing? Where does he think this
God, you
is?
remember we watched AEW together and we really enjoyed a match we were watching, but then Jericho came out and we both just started laughing. Like,
Yeah, man.
because it was like it just feels like a Christopher Guest scene whenever he comes out there. Like, it
Yeah, like
feels
in the
like we're
first
in a
minute, he
show about
goes for his
wrestling.
mask. Yeah, he went for the dude's mask, and it's like, you're a heel in our eyes, but you're not a heel on television
Well,
yet.
that's the thing
And so,
that was my big gripe with the match, Scott, is that like you set up this whole thing of like Jericho is gonna like teach this kid's the ropes because the dad teach Jericho the ropes, but then you open with him
The
slapping
dad
him in the
teached
fucking
Jericho. Jesus, sorry.
what?
and then
No,
the dad, and then
Yeah,
the
no.
dad like attacks Jericho when the ref isn't
it
looking,
was
and
Yeah.
all over the place.
rightfully so, because Jericho was trying to take this dude's mask off. But this is not the story we were told all night. This isn't the story of Chris Jericho so far.
And no one
It's
knew
not
these
even the
guys to
story of
begin with.
CMLL invading.
And no one knew these guys to begin with. So it was like a layer of
Well, no, no,
layer of
Dan.
confusion on layer of confusion.
Dan, you're wrong, because when you think lucha libre, you think Huntsville, Alabama, the most tolerant, welcoming, culturally inclusive town on the planet.
Hey, as somebody who's been to Huntsville, Alabama, it is a city. But I thought
80% of the city is just Conrad.
I, Atlantis is just like, it's just such a gimmick of like, it feels like something Mike Lawrence made up to make fun of Tony. Like it doesn't feel real. The whole, it's just, I don't know,
Not
man.
only that, the guy he didn't have a good body. He wasn't good in the ring.
It's fine.
It wasn't good. It was just like he didn't. I was gonna say he didn't fall down. There was that Hurricanrana spot where like Atlantis Senior went to go help him because he's like, "This isn't gonna end well, buddy."
Also, like, if you're gonna have a throw to the towel spot, you gotta let him be in the fucking gimmick or the move for a little longer than he was in. Like, the dad just immediately threw the towel.
I was more uncomfortable with the dad like massaging his son's back after. that felt weird. And then I thought for sure Chris was going to lay those guys out. So you
No,
don't
but
even get that.
so I mean, to Scott's point, this was just the story that they didn't tell the story they were telling, and no one knew who these guys were to begin with. So the whole thing was just like this confusing fucking waste of time.
It was like a throwback to a paragraph that Tony read in '94 about a thing that happened. Like, these aren't things that are talked about in wrestling, you know? So yeah, it was just like peculiar.
I didn't even
But I did like
remember
the
Atlanta.
timing of it. Can we acknowledge that? Like, usually right around this time, a women's match happens, and I guess that happened before this. The show opened, instead of with a match, it opened with mic work. There were things like that I liked. But yeah, this match, what the fuck? Come on, guys.
I also don't know, like to Scott's point too, like wasn't Jericho's thing is that he was like he was like when you associate young Jericho, you associate Liger, right? Like that's the guy you associate
Yeah.
with. Another big no, I think anyone has ever like I'm a fucking avid wrestling fan. I've been to a ton of shows. I talk about wrestling way so much that my marriage may be over from it at some point. But like I've never heard like someone be like, "Oh, those." I've heard like the Tiger Mask Benoit stuff, but I've never heard, "Oh, you got to see those Jericho Atlantis matches." Have you guys ever heard of those?
At
Not
first, I
once.
thought this was all a work and like this was going to be a joke and it was going to be somebody else. But no, I've never heard of Atlantis or Atlantis. And they didn't even tell the story until like on the show. But Scott may be a huge Atlantis fan. I don't know.
I mean, look, I'll say this. There was pieces of it that I liked about it. Something about Dynamite, and I get cozy. There are moments where I feel like I put in a VHS tape.
Yeah.
And this was kind of like that, or at least they were acknowledging the VHS tape that I should put in. This wasn't watching the VHS tape. This was talking about a tape.
Well,
But I do like Dynamite for that. I mean, this guy, whatever his name is, Senior, he's been around forever. Maybe he does deserve some recognition, and this is the way to do it.
bring back Silver
This
King.
is like ultimate positive Scott talk.
Yeah, you're like, all right. So speaking of popping in a VHS tape, the main event was an episode of Nitro from like '98.
Oh my god.
I need just 1 minute to just talk through this for my own fucking sanity because I got to do rumor and innuendo after this. I'm not allowed to curse on there. What the fuck was this main event fucking segment? The Tony Khan tattoo could have booked a better main event segment than this. I assumed. I'm fucking hot. All right. I assumed when you did the bullshit last week with Ric
really
Flair,
looks like a Rorschach test.
when you did the shit last week with Flair and teasing that he's with the Bucks, I assume this is Tony Khan's inner Mark who's going, you know what we need? One last cool heel Flair, babyface Sting, Shivani in the ring on Turner Television promo. Knowing full well that Flair was eventually going to align with Sting and it was going to be a happy ending, but he wanted one shot of that. Instead, the Bucks come out in their like J.C. Penney ladies attire. They confront some guys with Sting masks, and then one of them is Darby, who jumps out to attack them as part of his plan, but he's outnumbered and then gets the shit beat out of him for a while, then gets hit with bats. Then Ric Flair comes out. The announcers bury Flair for trying to make this about him instead of making it about Sting. They give Flair the bat. Flair, rather than using the bat, pokes them in the eye like a Three Stooges routine, throws the worst punches he has ever possibly thrown. And then they beat up Flair. And then as they're leaving, Sting slowly gets lowered like a tea bag to the ground, takes off his harness, and him and Darby beat up the Young Bucks.
What did Mike say about it? It was really funny.
Oh, hold on. I will get the direct quote from Mr. Mike Lawrence. He looks like a sad pinata trying to empty himself of all the candy. Yeah. I also don't I don't love seeing a guy come down for the rafters after the Owen stuff. Like, it's just not worth the risk. This looked pathetic. It was weird.
Because it has to be super safe now.
I get that it's super safe.
Yeah, no, and it was, but because it looked like because it was, I mean, I was happy it looked safe, but to make it look safe, you have to make it look like that, which It's just terrible. It's just like it's like he just looked like he was on. You know what it looked like? Have you ever parasailed on vacation and the little kid gets scared, so they just have to like slowly lower him instead of using the zip line? That's what it looked like.
He looked like. Did you ever see the movie Greedy?
No.
Is that the Norm Macdonald one?
No, it's the one with Michael J. Fox. But there's a thing
Haven't
where
seen
Kirk
that.
Douglas is supposed to be paraplegic, and they're slowly lowering him into the pool so he can swim. This is
Mhm.
the same apparatus, just limp, dangling, depressed. This is the end of my career, Sting, until we see him at Mania next year.
I all right. So when I saw them earlier in the night, the
You can't
Bucks.
defend this, dude. There's no way you
Listen,
can fucking
I
spin
knew
this.
we were closing on this, and I was worried because I don't. I only like closing on matches. I don't think AEW does a great job of closing shows with like moments outside of matches. Um, I liked the Darby lifting his face mask. The Ric Flair thing, in my eyes, the Ric thing should have been in the match. He tries to turn on Sting. Sting doesn't fall for it. I hated that they used him this way. I did not like it. So for that, yeah, this shit was ass. But I liked Sting coming down from the rafters. I even liked the Young Bucks waiting longer, knowing that if they turn too soon, he won't have gotten the harness off of him and he would be stuck. I
Like
liked all of it.
you complimenting this is burying it.
Here's
Yeah.
why. Because one, I've seen it in wrestling a bunch. Guys have to like take off a thing before someone comes out, but it's a very Sting thing. And it's the last time we haven't seen Sting come down from the rafters. I think at least this entire AEW run, right?
No, I
Uh,
don't think he has.
so one last rafter drop. That's cute. That's nice. This is an old man. We're doing this for him. And I thought it was adorable. But I think in terms of the EVPs, like I don't know if you guys know this because you didn't watch Rampage, but instead of the Meltzer driver, it's the Tony Khan driver now. They're like switching things like that up too to be extra obnoxious. And I get it because it's supposed to irritate us, but god damn it, it irritates me.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense. Like they're supposed to make us not like them. And oh boy, do I really not like them currently.
I mean, my
Even
big
though I
takeaway
love them. And I think this match is gonna be fire.
I'm skeptical about this match, and my big takeaway is what Robert said. On Patreon, we really should do this pay-per-view, right? Are we going to talk about it on the main show, or are we going to do it for Patreon?
I don't know. We'll figure it out and post it on the Facebook group.
Yeah, all right. Well, you guys will have an answer tomorrow. Either
Yeah,
way.
I feel like we got to acknowledge it, but it's Sunday night, or is it Saturday night?
It's a Sunday night show.
Okay.
Yeah, but I
Stacked
feel
card.
like,
I mean, we could get into. We could start with that tag match, I guess, since we're talking about
That's where I was
them.
going to go. Yeah. So predictions. We'll get that quick. Sting and Darby, who are the tag team champions, which I kind of forgot, taking on the Young Bucks in a tornado tag match. This is Sting's retirement match. Dan, who you got?
I mean, normally the story they would be, especially because of this. Another thing we forgot to talk about was that like there was too much physicality on the Bucks at the end. So you already saw the Scorpion Death Drop.
Yep.
Before the match, which was, I think, super counterproductive. I guess they're going to end with Sting and Darby in the titles. It feels like that's what the company does. They give you like, the feel good moment at the end. But Sting may want to have the Bucks go over at the end of this. I don't think the Bucks need to, so I'm going to go with Sting and Darby.
Scott?
Yeah, it feels like Sting's decision, but I would love Sting and Darby to win. I would love for there to be a tournament after this. I know we get a lot of tournaments. And I would like this to close out the show, but I go, ooh, are you not changing the title if that means this is closing out the show? I don't know. But it feels like it maybe should close out the show. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe middle of the
I think
show.
it should close out the show. I agree.
You think so?
Yeah, of course.
It should close out the show. Hopefully, they were able to secure some legends to be there. I know they tried to ask Nash, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm not fucking up my WWE deal to do this bullshit." But there's got to be guys.
He was
in
disappointed. Robert always like paints these stories in the most positive WWE light ever. Like the
Yes.
whole story was Kevin Nash was disappointed he couldn't go. It wasn't, I'm not going to fuck up my WWE deal.
Kevin Nash absolutely could have gone. He could have been like, "Hey, I'm going to go do this. This is
I
important
know,
to
but
me."
the way that
You don't want to fuck up his money.
You're finding
Yeah,
the
no, Robert's right. He's being a bitch. He could hang out backstage. these guys, man, they're too afraid of the check, and even more than afraid of the check, I think he's just like maybe a little afraid to be honest about a situation, which is I am closer friends with Triple H than I am Sting, and that might sit weird with you, but I am friends with a politician, and my life has to adjust accordingly. But like, yeah, dude, you should be allowed to hang out at Sting shit, and you shouldn't be such a mark about it.
Anyway,
But I
they
get it. I mean,
yeah.
if it was in the front row, they would show him a lot, and they'd put his name there,
Yeah.
and I don't think they wouldn't. They would.
No, I think you bring out Flair. If Arn's still, talking to them, you have Arn there. I don't know what
But
Luger's
if the boys
situation
got the
is.
money, if they all have the money, and we know
Yeah.
they got the money, and if they got the time, and I hope they have the time, you just go and you hang out for the day. You go hug Sting, you watch his final match backstage. When he comes through, you give him a hug. You bullshit for a little bit. Hey, are we all gonna go? Is Tony gonna have an after party somewhere? And then you head home. It's like these things are, guys have retirement parties. This feels like that.
Anyway, I think Sting and Darby will probably win because they murdered his
It would be a
sons.
nice
And
moment to see Luger, sorry, in the front row.
no, you don't want Luger. There's nothing nice about seeing Luger. He looks rough, but yeah, I think the Bucks will strip Darby of the tag titles in the after and make a tournament or whatever. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong for the AEW International Championship. I guess if you need to put some steam on this undisputed kingdom story, you have to put the title on Roddy. But I think this is a chance for them to kill this storyline dead. So I will be actively rooting for Orange Cassidy. Dan?
I 100% agree. I think a month ago it was like a sure thing that Roddy was going to win this, but this undisputed kingdom storyline, like we've said before, is the worst thing in wrestling right now. Well, worst thing kayfabe in wrestling. So I would totally. I think you have Orange. I don't even think you have a long fucking match. Like I think you just get this fucking over with. Have a 7-minute match.
Scott?
Yeah, I'm really frustrated with this goddamn match and the storyline. Dude, I hate these guys. I hate I can't even remember their name. My brain goes, don't do it. Don't put your, brain power to this. Because I don't think they put brain power to it. Uh the problem with this match too is that all those like devil guys got to be involved, right? Right? Or otherwise, what are we doing? And so are we getting like a Roderick win through cheating thanks to like is the devil's objective to win this title that means nothing? And I think that's what we're getting. And I just go, whatever. Let's wash our hands of this.
You want me to make it
This is
worse,
so
Scott?
bad, man. So
I'm
bad.
going to make it worse for you. Roderick's going to win because Trent's going to turn.
Oh, wait, what do you mean? You think
They've,
Trent is going to turn?
they've been teasing this Trent turn for like 3 months.
I might like it. Oh no, I like
Yeah.
Trent.
But
Is what I
I
mean.
like what can you have Orange win and then Trent turn on him afterwards so we get Orange and Trent and just
Yeah. Oh, great point. But woof, woof, woof. Bad.
Uh, I'm using the Wikipedia order here. This is obviously not the order of it. Next, Samoa Joe, Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland for the title. I don't see any reason to take the title off of Joe. I think a triple threat gives the situation where Hangman is so consumed with preventing Swerve from winning the title that he's going to wind up
Swerve's not
getting
hot enough to be champion, man. I mean, we
Swerve's
thought
not in
he
a
was a
position
couple weeks ago, but he's not anymore.
because he's not a baby face. He's not a heel. They haven't defined his role. I think you can get another Swerve Hangman whatever match out of this, and then Joe can move on to Osprey, to Okada, to whoever else to be a stabilizing champion. Dan,
By the way, did you notice like we had this whole thing of like Wardlow cutting this promo by himself, and I'm going to get myself back on track, and then he wasn't on the show. Like in typical Tony, fucking
yeah,
anyway. Yeah, I mean, I think it's got to be Joe. I think it would be. The only reason it wouldn't be is Joe's very injury prone, and he could just be walking to the fucking airport and blow out something, so they'd have to take it off him. But yeah, I think it's got to be Joe.
that's why you got Atlantis Jr. Scott.
Yeah, I'm stuck on this one because I thought Swerve for a long time. Now I think Joe. But if I'm in Vegas and they go put up money, I'm saying Swerve wins. I I think a few months ago we thought Swerve was even more ready. I think we're so compelled by the story, we just want to see him be a complete face, and we want to just go crazy when he wins the title. But I think that might just happen in the match, man. I think there's going to be a moment in the match where we all realize, oh wow, this crowd is hot, and this is the moment. And I think we're getting Swerve, and I'm pretty pumped on it because it is kind of unpredictable because it is a little too soon, even though it's not. And so I think do it and then let's get this ball rolling, man. Let's go crazy. Unless you're gonna have Okada challenge Joe. Because again, Swerve needs this title, and then what? You're gonna have Swerve try to win it again soon. I don't know if that's a
I just
story.
don't think he's ready yet. You know.
Yeah. Speaking of people who are probably not ready to be champions, Deonna Purrazzo is taking on Timeless Tony Storm. It's got to be Tony to set up for the Sasha match, right, Dan?
I guess. I mean, the only thing is that, I think that there's dangers in having Mercedes versus this gimmick. I think Mercedes' whole thing is she's the Shawn Michaels of the women's division. She had that great match in Stardom with Kairi Sane and with somebody else too. And like she just makes people great. So I hope they don't do any like black and white shenanigans and all this shit. But I also don't think Deonna Purrazzo is at all over. So you have to kind of just go with Tony on this.
Scott?
And the Tony gimmick is interesting because what she's doing now is like final days of Marilyn Monroe is kind of the gimmick, or final days of an actress who is
So you have
clearly
Mr. Kennedy Killer? I'm just
yeah, dude. She
it's a
feels like
history joke.
yeah, her gimmick is like I am on meds and it's because of the studios. It's very fun. Her makeup is getting messier and messier. And with that, I think it's awesome. I think she should retain the title, but I don't know who faces her after this. I don't think it's Mercedes. So yeah, you
Serena
honestly, I think like
Deeb.
Britt walks out
I mean,
because I think Britt is over, but she's not over the way we think she's over. And so Britt walks out for Mercedes, but Tony
I think you
wins.
kind
Yeah,
of
come on.
I think you kind of I mean like this is really rushed. This is like total Vince shit, but I think you'd maybe have Britt beat Tony for the title a week later and then have Britt lose it to Mercedes. Because the money match is Mercedes and Britt, right? I mean, that's the one people want to see.
Yeah, which is like fucking fraudulent in the idea. How long has Britt been off television?
So
The
long.
whole time, man.
And
So
she's
long. I
off
feel like
like
it's like she was there
marrying
the first
stuff.
year, and then like yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
she
no,
feels like the AEW's women's division, which is
nobody else is ready. Nobody else is ready.
I don't even know if it's a ready thing because I don't remember watching a Britt Baker match and flipping out. It's just she felt like the company. She felt like she carried the company.
What is
And we
going
need a
on with
women's
her?
wrestler who was like, hey, this company's on my back.
What is going on with her? Because she was like off the TV. Was she injured and then she was like burying AEW?
Yeah, last time I heard she's just like complaining backstage and hanging out with Tony Khan. And not about her spot, about everybody else's spot.
Well, there's always Soraya. Uh, Eddie Kingston, Brian Danielson for the Triple Crown title. Scott, who you got?
I love Eddie Kingston. I like that he won this title in a tournament. I get all of that. But at what point are we gonna go, okay, this is Danielson's last apparent like full year as a wrestler. You gotta put a belt on him and let him go crazy. You didn't give him the world title. We wanted it. I get it. I guess he didn't want it. Then put this thing on him, and every match moving forward is a dream match, is a match where, he is the Orange Cassidy, where we're not rolling our eyes at a match with him versus Hook. We're excited about Brian Danielson versus insert anybody in the fucking world who is like top 20, because that's what we should be getting.
No, because we watched Collision and they just
Oh,
put
that was lovely though, and that fits the match. That fits the match.
I feel like if you put a title on him like this, it's going to be even more self-indulgent. He's going to find some 80-year-old wrestler that trained Masawa that he wants to fight.
I just think Brian wants to lose every match, like that was a story in WWE when he was booking. He's like, like he wanted freaking what's his name to beat him. The guy with the pedophile brother, Drew Gulak. Yeah, I mean, like,
Oh, really? Wow.
yeah,
It's a great
yeah.
gimmick.
I mean, he just wants, like, he just does
That's a
not want.
great gimmick.
Brian's whole thing is he doesn't want to go over, and it's just he's so over. Do you remember, like, he lost to Sami Zayn at WrestleMania 36 in a nothing match, and then a year later he was in the main event with Roman Reigns just because we're like, yeah, it needs it. It needs Brian Danielson. Um, so I think Tony should just be like, you need to beat Eddie Kingston. I also don't think again, it's like misusing fucking Eddie Kingston. It's Eddie Kingston, his whole point is to win the title and then lose it. It's not to, like, be a dominant champion. That's not what Eddie Kingston's gimmick is. Eddie Kingston is perfect because he's a storyline wrestler. Every single thing you put him in can have a story because he's great on the mic. Like, you don't need to make him dominant in the fucking ring, but
Well, the
that's
story's here's the fucking handshake after the match.
yeah, I know. That's what I mean.
Do we
You don't
care?
even get a title for that. So it's like, but Tony's brain, like, I think we're. I mean,
Don't go near Tony's brain. All
it's a
right.
fool's errand to yeah.
Dan, we got to move this on. We got
All
45
right,
more
all right,
matches to get through
all
here.
right, all right, so
Osprey to Keshta in the singles match. There's no way Osprey's losing his first match back, but I'm hoping it's good and that you don't get too much Don Callis. Scott?
Oh, I'm gonna be a happy boy during this one. Osprey's gonna win. We're gonna see hopefully a split between the Callis family and him. That's all we need. Yeah, this is gonna be a possible show stealer. Depends. You don't want to put too much emphasis on it, right? You don't want to go, oh, match of the year, which is what they did on Dynamite. But shit, we might get match of the year.
Dan?
yeah. I mean, I think this could be match of the year. I can't wait for this match. This is the match that makes me want to see the show.
Speaking of which, Christian Cage, Danny Garcia for the TNT title because Edge is hurt. There's no reason to take the title off Christian, right, Dan?
I don't think so.
Scott?
They may want to put it on
I
Danny.
think Edge interferes, man. I think Edge cost Christian this, and then fans at a pay-per-view and people who paid for a pay-per-view get to say they saw Edge. It makes sense. And Daniel Garcia is on fire on Collision right now. So why not just let him hold a title that, I mean, you guys aren't really watching anyway because it's on Collision most of the time, right?
We watched
So,
Collision this week. It's on the
Yeah.
Patreon. Go and check it out.
oh, that's true.
Yeah. Speaking of guys who are on fire on Collision, we rarely ever see FTR in the Blackpool Combat Club. This is the rematch from the match we saw with the time limit draw. You're in Carolina. I would imagine you want to give FTR. There's a situation where FTR and Eddie all win, and the BCC loses, and maybe they disband. Dan?
Oh, that's fantasy booking right up my alley. I think FTR is great. I think they should win. Yeah, that's it.
Scott?
Yeah, that's about it. Other than a little confusion in terms of, okay, last time it was a 30-minute draw, so you didn't add a stipulation this time. What exactly are we getting? Are we getting a debut? Are we getting, what? But FTR, please, please, please let FTR win, dude. I don't even want to kind of think that Blackpool Combat Club, which is a failed they're a failed group in my opinion, right? Where we all love the individual wrestlers very much, but this group is I even like them hanging out. But I don't like the name. I don't like the outfits. I would never buy
The
Blackpool Combat Club merchandise. I mean, that's like a huge sign of a failing gimmick. Is that like I love all these guys and I would actively not wear something that they're all a part of.
the Regal
But
stuff just fucked him.
it's just dumb, dude. Yeah, real world shit fucked them. Blackpool, bad name. None of you are from there. Uh, but FTR has to win, and FTR needs to be like the tag guys. What are we doing? WWE is kicking your dicks in. So let's focus because in my opinion, you have a better roster. So let's get that tag team tournament going by having FTR win.
All right. This last match I thought was the meat match, but on Wikipedia it looks like they've updated it. This may be from Rampage spoilers, so if you're the
You
one
get
person
Jericho
which
in it pisses me off.
No,
It
it's
really
not. They canceled it last night, and this is interesting. So Tony Khan said that due to injuries, the Meat Madness match couldn't happen. Yet everyone announced in the Meat Madness match is in this match. Go ahead,
that's
Robert.
where yeah. So it's called an All-Star Scramble match. It says Chris Jericho, Wardlow, Hobbs, Archer, Hook, Brian Cage, Dante Martin, and Magnus. Magnus, by the way, not Nick Aldis. It is a CMLL guy.
Oh my God.
who's been added into
He's an
this match.
all-star. He's an all-star.
He is an
That is so
all-star.
funny. Holy shit. Is
Dude,
that true? There's a CML. That's awesome.
this is what it's saying on Wikipedia. It on the AEW graphic, they still have guys blacked out. So I don't know if maybe this is something that happened on Rampage or Collision or whatever. But this is
What
what's
are the
up
rules
there.
of this match?
It's a scramble, so who knows?
Oh my God.
It seems fucking dumb, but the winner gets a title shot uh against against Joe. So I'm guessing Wardlow.
Yeah, you have to have Joe beat Wardlow. Wardlow's,
If
I don't know.
Wardlow doesn't win this match, that's like the only thing I could think of. If Wardlow doesn't win this match, he's out. He's out and they should let him leave. Like it should just be we reach an agreement. Gotta be Wardlow. And then Hobbs gets distracted by a meaty man. That's the idea.
Yes.
It's horrible.
Horrible. You get Jericho in it, like
That's the only reason they booked it this way, is to get Chris and maybe to get Hook on it.
man, maybe. I feel I don't know.
I don't know. Let's do high spot, low spot, so we can wrap this
Again, and I know we've gone long. My whole thing was like, you had something with Hook and Joe, and they've totally done nothing with Hook since then, like I had predicted.
I'm sure they
the
did
Hook Joe
something on an
moment was
Instagram
great, though,
story.
What, Scott?
The Hook Joe moment was great, but yeah, obviously
they haven't done anything since it.
Well, last week he was in that main event with the guys who were main
Yeah, but it was like a house show.
Revolution.
Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you ain't wrong. My high spot is Ospreay showing up. I know when he got signed, people were like, "Does this matter? He's wrestled here before." I know he's wrestled here before, but I think he's just that good. There's a few guys that are that good, and he's one of them. So I hope it can bring something fresh to Wednesday nights. That's my high spot. I don't know if I have a low spot. I mean, no, obviously I have a low spot. Virgil passed away. And Virgil, doing this podcast, being a stand-up comic and loving wrestling, there's like a few guys who just like their names flood to you when you happen to love both comedy and wrestling. And Virgil is one of them. And I will say this now that he's dead. I think he was in on the joke. He knew. He knew that when he walked up to people and acted like he knew them, even though he didn't know them, he knew that meant that maybe he might get $20 after the interaction. And in that sense, I think he was very aware of his gimmick. I think Virgil, every night he went home and he checked how many dollars he had in his pocket, and it was all from him working us, not us laughing at him. So yeah, rest in peace, Virgil. You got Big Pops beating DiBiase, and I mean, dude, how many times have we mentioned Virgil on this podcast?
A lot.
Just like an iconic character in wrestling, without having like these iconic wrestling matches. That's impressive.
And do you remember, like, he had the Vince McMahon mask on, and they took the mask off? This was like Joey Janela's show, and the crowd erupted. Like, that's how you knew the guy was over,
he is
man.
somebody. He really is. He's somebody. That Jericho, that first year of AEW, Jericho made a very funny video that we were all in love with. Yeah, and Virgil was in it. He's just like, in my opinion, he got it. Maybe he didn't get it the whole time, but the last 10 years he knew what he was doing, and holy shit, was he a good time. So rest in peace, Virgil.
Well, here's the other thing. Mike texted this out, and he and I were going back and forth on this, because when you're a fan of a certain age, Virgil as DiBiase's manservant until he turned on Ted, that moment where he turned on Ted DiBiase is a seminal moment for a lot of us as younger fans. It was this big, massive payoff to a very long storyline. He was in the video games. He had action figures. He was a part of that era of WWF that made a lot of us fans. So for that reason, we're going to remember Virgil. And then, yes, his second act as this carny who was in on the joke makes total sense. Dan, what's your high spot, low spot?
Low spot, definitely Virgil. It's weird knowing that I'm never going to see Virgil at a convention. I'm never gonna see him not have a line. There's something that was just so fun about that. And like Scott said, he is a really good cross section of comedy and wrestling. I'd say another low spot is Sean Spears showing up at NXT, and like NXT, don't do the thing that fucking AEW did where you think you're so hot that you can like rehab everybody. Okay, like it's not a big deal that fucking Ty Dillinger is back. All right, I don't even care if it's at fucking NXT. Like it's not a big deal. And
You're wrong, Dan.
Yo, wait, it's not that it's not a big deal, but like, do you think at the very least they're kind of changing what NXT is? Like, I feel like in 7 months they want NXT to be competition with AEW, and I'm just talking about ratings.
Well, yeah, that's not a way to do it. To do a guy who wasn't competition when AEW was hot on your TV.
Yeah, but to take a guy, when they brought this, they didn't bring him back as Ty Dillinger. You brought him back as Sean Spears.
Here comes the fucking WWE apology.
Here comes the spin.
Dude, it looks like Tama is showing up. I mean,
Tom is showing up, but you're using Spears the way that he was presented in AEW. He's a good hand. He's a Cody guy. He's going to be there training the wrestlers.
I have never heard you say one of these things when he was in AEW.
When he left, I even said I hope he winds up there. Check the tape.
Unfucking believable.
The tape.
Oh bullshit, dude! It's bullshit. This is like
I'm going to show you my Sean Spears tattoo
again.
That I have
oh
on
my god! Ankle. It's like crazy that you're able to do this.
I'm a Spearsiac.
Really perfect 10, Dan.
I'm a fucking Spearsiac. Love that, dude.
Inspiring.
Dan, give us your high spot.
My high spot is Drew using the GTS as a finisher and calling it the GTM Go to Mania. I think that's hilarious.
That's tremendous. My high spot is Sean Spears. My high spot, R-Truth continues to be a national treasure. Him going to Austria instead of Australia for the Elimination Chamber was a really fun bit. There's a video where he's talking up Johnny Gargano, hyping him up that you're going to be the next Shawn Michaels. They pan over, and it's Shawn Michaels. It's stupid. It's easy. It's fun. The R-Truth stuff is working. My low spot, in addition to Virgil passing away, Ole Anderson passed away. And he comes from a simpler era where the biggest crime you could commit is just being a grumpy asshole that nobody likes.
I'm sure that's not the only crime Ole committed.
I'm sure it's not the only crime, but he's also a guy, when you look back now, it's like part of the reason why he stepped away was he wanted to go spend time with his son, who was an amateur wrestler. He was just a prick that nobody liked. He did call Linda a cunt, so we still have a little bit of friction there. But I don't remember who said it, but I think it was Mike who said, like, I'm glad Ole lived long enough to see Vince become the guy he always knew Vince was. So, yeah. And I also am happy that he lived long enough to see the Black Scorpion angle get overtaken by the Devil reveal. I feel like that was his vindication, and now his soul has been freed. Our souls have been freed here, but if you want to see...
Rest in peace, Richard Lewis, too, guys.
Yeah, absolutely, rest in peace, Richard Lewis.
That's comedy and not wrestling.
Who cares? We love fucking Richard Lewis. He's amazing. In fact, this week I'm going to be watching Robin Hood Men in Tights just because he's gold in that. If people want to see Dan and his soul, Dan, where can the people find you?
Dallas Comedy Club, baby. I'm going to be everybody in Dallas, please pack. I want to pack those shows. Follow me on Instagram. I post 3 videos a week. My special comes out March 12th. I think it looks great. Shout out to the Two Buffoons guys and 800-pound gorilla. Everybody's there. And then next weekend, if you're in Cincinnati or in Lexington, Kentucky, I will be opening for Dan Soder. So I'm on the road a lot, guys. And Stone Cold Law still alive, everybody. So keep that fucking buzz going for us.
Scott?
Damn right. You could also listen to Alfred Smokes, my other podcast. And I'm opening for Louis Gomez at the Comedy Connection in Connecticut, March 14th through the 16th, I believe. So come hang, dogs.
Nice. You can catch my other show, Rumor and Innuendo, every Monday through Friday at noon Eastern on my WWE Creative-ish account or wherever you get podcasts. I think that's everything. We'll be back with Patreon, possibly doing Revolution for Patreon. We'll talk about that.
Let's just, do you want to just call it? We'll do Revolution on Monday, so Patreon will be a little bit later in the day.
I was gonna say, otherwise we got to push it a little bit. Yeah, we'll do Patreon. We'll record Revolution,
but it's a show. I don't really want to talk Collision and SmackDown again. So let's do.
Well, I'm gonna want to talk SmackDown because it's Rock and Roman.
Oh, that's true. Okay, so our Patreon will be reviewing Revolution and Rock and Roman. I just think that like by the time we would get to Collision on the regular show, it would be old. I mean, I'm sorry, by the time we get to Revolution on the
Old,
regular
yeah,
show, it
yeah.
would be old. So let's do for Patreon, we'll do Revolution and we'll do Rock addressing Cody.
All right. Well, in the meantime, Dan, what should the people do?
Wash their damn hands.
Wash your hands, guys.